Ever wonder why some people achieve extraordinary things while others struggle to make small changes? What if the secret to success isn't genius or luck, but tiny, consistent habits? Chapter 1: The Power of Atomic Habits. Imagine a single grain of sand. It's tiny, almost invisible, but when you stack 1,000,000 of them, you build a mountain. That's the core of atomic habits, small, consistent actions that compound over time. James Clear argues that most people focus on big goals and ignore the tiny habits that actually lead to success. For example, instead of trying to get fit all at once, focus on a single habit like lifting weights for 10 minutes a day. The power of atomic habits lies in their simplicity and consistency. They're not about willpower but about creating systems that make good habits effortless. Why does this matter? Because humans are wired to resist change, but we're naturally drawn to patterns. By breaking goals into tiny, manageable steps, you create a path that feels doable. How does it work? You start by identifying the habit you want to build, then make it easy, obvious, and rewarding. Over time, these tiny wins compound into life-changing results. Think of it like compound interest. The longer you let small changes compound, the bigger the impact. To apply this, ask yourself, what's one habit I can do today that will make tomorrow easier? That's the atomic habit principle in action. MIT Sarah, a busy mom who wanted to start a fitness routine. Instead of trying to run 5 miles every day, she decided to walk for 10 minutes after dinner. At first, it felt like a tiny win, but over weeks, it became a habit. She started adding side workouts, then eventually ran her first 5K. The key was that she didn't focus on the big goal, she focused on the tiny action. When she missed a day, she didn't quit, she just started again the next day. Over time, the 10-minute walks turned into a full routine. Her story shows how atomic habits work. They're not about perfection, but about consistency. Even if you only do the habit 5 days a week, the compounding effect will still make a difference. Sarah's secret wasn't willpower, it was creating a system that made the habit effortless. That's the power of atomic habits. They turn big goals into manageable, sustainable steps. Chapter 2: The Science of Behavior Change. Habits aren't just about willpower, they're about the science of how our brains change. James Clear explains that habits are like neural pathways in the brain. Every time you perform an action, your brain creates a shortcut to make it easier next time. But here's the catch, these pathways are fragile. If you try to change a habit all at once, your brain resists. Instead, the key is to make the habit easy, obvious, and rewarding. For example, if you want to drink more water, don't just tell yourself to do it. Place a water bottle on your desk so it's obvious, make it a ritual after every task, and reward yourself with a snack. This creates a feedback loop, the habit becomes easier to do, the brain reinforces the pathway, and over time, it becomes automatic. Why does this matter? Because our brains are designed to conserve energy. If a habit is too hard, we'll avoid it. By breaking it into small, manageable steps, we make the brain's job easier. To apply this, ask yourself, what can I do to make my desired habit feel effortless? The science of behavior change isn't about discipline, it's about creating systems that make good habits feel like second nature. Take John, a college student who wanted to study more. He tried to study for 3 hours every day, but it felt overwhelming. Instead, he broke it down, he studied for 15 minutes every time he opened his laptop. He placed his books on his desk so they were obvious, and after each study session, he rewarded himself with a coffee. At first, it felt like a tiny step, but over time, the 15-minute sessions added up. His brain started to associate studying with the reward, making it easier to start. Even when he missed a session, he didn't feel guilty because the system was designed to be forgiving. The science of behavior change isn't about perfection, it's about creating a loop that makes the habit feel natural. John's story shows how small, consistent actions can rewire the brain and create lasting change. Chapter 3: The Psychology of Habits. Habits are like a script your brain follows. James Clear explains that the key to changing habits is not to fight against them, but to understand the habit loop, routine, reward. For example, if you want to read more, the cue might be the sound of your morning coffee brewing, the routine is reading for 10 minutes, and the reward is the satisfaction of starting your with knowledge. But this only works if the reward is immediate and tangible. If the reward is delayed or unclear, your brain will abandon the habit. That's why small rewards are so powerful, they make the habit feel worth it. The psychology of habits also teaches us to focus on the environment. If you want to eat healthier, don't just tell yourself to do it, remove unhealthy snacks and place healthy options in your path. Your brain is lazy, so it'll choose the easiest option. To apply this, ask yourself, what cues and rewards can I create to make my desired habit irresistible? The psychology of habits isn't about willpower, it's about designing your environment to make good habits effortless. MIT Lisa, who wanted to start a morning routine. She tried to wake up at 5 a.m. and meditate, but it felt impossible. Instead, she created a habit loop. Every time she woke up, she made her coffee, then sat by the window for 5 minutes. The routine became her cue, the sound of the coffee machine. The reward was the calm feeling of starting her day mindfully. Over time, the habit became automatic. Even when she overslept, she'd still make the coffee and sit by the window. The psychology of habits isn't about forcing yourself to change. It's about creating a loop that your brain naturally follows. Lisa's story shows how small, consistent cues and rewards can make habits stick, even when life gets busy. Chapter 4: The Role of Identity. Habits aren't just about actions, they're about identity. James Clear argues that the most powerful habits are those that align with who you want to be. For example, if you want to be a writer, don't just focus on writing a book, focus on the habit of writing 500 words a day. Your identity as a writer becomes the reason you write. This is the key to lasting change. When a habit becomes part of your identity, it's no longer something you do, it's something you are. Why does this matter? Because your brain seeks consistency. If you act like a writer, you'll start thinking like one. To apply this, ask yourself, what identity do I want to live? What habits support that identity? The role of identity isn't about perfection, it's about creating a self-image that naturally leads to the habits you want. When your habits reflect your identity, they feel effortless because they're part of who you are. Take Mark, a software developer who wanted to improve his health. He tried to diet and exercise, but it any fair stuck. Instead, he redefined his identity as a health-focused developer. He started by making his desk healthier, no candy, no junk food, and he took silent walks during breaks. Over time, he didn't just eat better, he became someone who naturally made healthy choices. His identity as a health-focused developer made the habits feel essential, not optional. The role of identity isn't about forcing yourself to change, it's about creating a self-image that makes the habits feel inevitable. Mark's story shows how aligning your habits with your identity turns change into a natural part of who you are. Quote from this book, "E bought de power of atomic habits."